I was late for work, again. I've been working at Farber and Franklin for just over 3 months, and I'd already been late twice. My boss Kevin had given me a warning about it, and I promised to be on time from now on, and yet there I was, scrambling to make it in time. I'd stopped at Dunkin' Donuts because it was my turn to buy snacks for the office, but I had no idea how slow the line would be. It was moving fast at first, but the guy right in front of me seemed to be one of those slow motion people who wants to look at every choice at least twice before he makes his selection. Normally, I try not to cause a scene, but I couldn't wait any longer. I leaned close to him and whispered, "Can you hurry up, please? I'm running late." He spun around just to glare at me, and then he turned back towards the worker. If anything, he was moving even slower now just to annoy me. "Please," I whispered, "I have to buy donuts for the office, and I'm running kind of late." "Should have gotten here earlier then," he said, without even bothering to turn around. I looked at the worker, silently pleading with my eyes. She was an older woman with a bright red birthmark under her eye. She was wearing a wrinkled dress, not the usual worker uniforms. There was something very unpleasant about her, something almost suspicious. She looked back at me and smiled, as if she was happy that I was running late. I glanced down at my phone. I was already 2 minutes late. By the time I get everything and drive to the office, I'd be at least 15 minutes late. Kevin was definitely going to notice. He already had it in for me, and he was always first in line for Friday morning donuts. He would not be happy. The man finally ordered, but when he pulled out his wallet, he started fumbling with his coins. I watched in horror as he started slowly counting them out. He was going to pay for everything in coins. I wasn't sure if that was his plan all along, or if this was just another way for him to punish me for asking to hurry up. He was up to $2 worth of quarters by the time I'd had enough. I grabbed a 10 from my wallet and shoved it at the worker. "Let me pay for him," I said. The man glared at me, took his donuts, and left. I rattled off my order to the woman and got what I wanted in less than a minute. I paid for my donuts and was about to race off when the woman said, "I hate you all." At first, I wasn't sure if I heard her correctly, but the way she was glaring at me made me realize that I had. I didn't have time to respond though. When I got back in my car, I started to speed out of the parking lot, but another car was blocking the exit. It was the man again, and he was waiting for me. I honked, but he wouldn't move. I rolled down my window and shouted at him, "Please, I need to go." He didn't answer. I was filled with rage. How could this guy be so petty? If I got fired, it would 100% be his fault. I pulled up my emergency brake but kept my car running. I jumped out and walked towards his driver's side. I saw the man through his window, but he didn't look at me. He was hunched over, his head against the steering wheel. What was going on? I reached through the open window and touched his shoulder. He slumped to the side, revealing a face that was bright red. His eyes were wide open and blank, and his tongue hung out the side of his mouth. He was dead. Donut crumbs speckled his chin. I shook him to see if he'd come to life, but that just made his body flop to the side. His foot must have fallen off the brake because his car started to slowly glide forward right into the road. I couldn't do anything except watch in horror as the dead man's car rolled across the highway and crashed into a traffic light. Clearly, this man had been poisoned. Something was wrong with the donuts. I ran back towards the building and noticed that the back door was half open. I pushed my way through and found the worker, the real worker, crumpled down on the kitchen floor. He was poisoned too. That's when I knew that the old woman with the birthmark had snuck in and done something to all the donuts. Without thinking, I ran through the kitchen and into the main lobby, but it was empty. The woman had already left. It was all a blur after that, but from what I remember, I called the police and then called my boss to tell him that I wasn't going to come into work for a while. He was furious, as I expected, even after I told him what had happened. He said he didn't care, and he fired me on the spot. As I waited for the police to arrive, the situation seemed to crash down on me. I didn't care about losing my job. I was miserable there anyway. Mostly, I was relieved that I didn't accidentally poison all my coworkers. I would have too if that man hadn't eaten his donut first. I guess I owe my life to him. It's been a couple of weeks since this all went down, and I still don't know who that woman was or why she'd want to poison strangers. Maybe I'd never find out. But believe me when I say that you should never get angry at people you don't know. They might just end up saving you. My name is Julius, and I'm 23 years old. Some time ago, I was working at the night shift as a Dunkin' Donuts employee. I was trying to earn some money to go to university. At that time, I was still living with my sister, Bree. She was 15 years older than me, and since both my parents died of cancer, when I was still a teenager, my sister became particularly important in my life. After a couple of months, I got used to the job. Most customers were nice, and even the sketchy and the weird ones who appeared to be on pills or homeless didn't pose any troubles. They just ordered their coffee or hot chocolate, a donut, went to their table, no problem. Some even fell asleep there for a couple of hours, which didn't bother me at all. There was a cat which wandered around the surroundings of the Dunkin' Donuts. It didn't get inside, but whenever I left the place to go home by foot, the cat started to ask for attention, which also meant food, of course. It was a white female cat, very dirty, obviously from living in the streets. As days, or better said nights, went by, I started feeding her and petted her as well. Eventually, after speaking to my sister about it, I decided to adopt the cat. I took her to the vet to clean her up, and for vaccines and everything else. I gave her the name White Donut. White Donut was very gentle and peaceful. My sister, though, didn't like my cat that much. But why? She doesn't bother anyone, just likes to relax and be on her own, I said. Yes, but that's what creeps me out. She's always staring and observing, like she is planning something. Those were Bree's arguments. Aha, many people have that perception when it comes to cats in general. She isn't very expressive, but her presence calms me down, and she definitely likes to be here. I'm glad I saved her from the streets. It's good karma, Bree, to rescue hungry and homeless cats. Don't worry, you'll get used to White Donut here. Those were my arguments. Since I was working the night shift, I got up at around 11 a.m. Bree had a traditional 9 to 5 p.m. schedule, so she left the house while I would be asleep. But that late morning, a Wednesday, busy day and night for both of us, I realized that my sister had left both her cell phone and her wallet in the house, and also her shoes and coat. This meant she never left. Her bedroom door was, in fact, still closed, but Bree always left it open. I knocked on my sister's bedroom door and called for her. Bree, are you still in bed? Sick or something? No response. Maybe she simply fell asleep, I thought to myself. I didn't want to invade her privacy, so I kept knocking on the door and shouting. Still, complete silence. Bree, I'm worried. I'm coming in, I said. But the door was locked, and Bree never locked the door. I'm not the strongest dude in the world, I admit, so I went to get some iron tool to smash the lock. Finally, I was in. The room was completely dark. Bree? I said as I switched on the light. I was surprised to see my cat lying on top of my sister, looking at her. I guess it was possible that Bree slept in her room, but didn't see White Donut if the cat happened to be hiding under the bed. My concerns were directed to my sister, though. I went to her. Bree? Her eyes and mouth were wide open. I could listen to her heavy breathing. Bree, what's wrong with you? I shouted, afraid of moving her. My cat ran away and left my sister's bedroom. I immediately called the emergency number. They arrived in less than 30 minutes, but as the paramedics approached my sister, suddenly, she simply took a deep breath, started coughing, and came back to her senses. Are you all right? One of the paramedics asked. Yes, I think so. I don't know what happened. It's like I froze or something, but I'm okay now. Thank you, Bree said, looking at the paramedics and at me like she was waking up from some kind of trance, still catching her breath, but feeling notoriously better. Well, maybe we should take you to the hospital anyway to check up on you, the leading paramedic suggested. No, it's not necessary. I'm good, really. See? My sister said as she got out of the bed and started walking around. Okay then, it's your call. Goodbye, the paramedic said, probably frustrated with the fact that their help wasn't needed, and I just wasted their time. Sorry, I said. Oh, not at all. It's better this way. the paramedic said before leaving with his colleague. Wow, I was really scared, Bree, I said, when being alone again with my sister. Me too. I couldn't move or breathe, but I'm fine now. In any case, I'm taking the day off. That sounds like a great idea, I said. Friday arrived, and it was my night off. I was tired and wanted to get some sleep. My cat, unfortunately, was nowhere to be seen. She probably left the house when the paramedics arrived. I watched a movie with my sister and went to bed. I woke up in the middle of the night. There was someone in bed with me, but it wasn't my cat. Bree, my sister, was by my side. What are you doing? I shouted as I got out of bed, confused. You were nice to me, and I wanted to show you my affection. Usually, I'm not very emotional, but you were different. You're my older sister. Are you insane? No, I'm not your sister. Yeah, you're definitely insane. Probably from that attack. You need to get your brain checked, Bree, and put some clothes on, please. As my sister got up from the bed, she made a movement with her left hand, and I froze. I couldn't move or speak, and she spoke to me.
I'm not Bree, my dear. I'm a female demon. I wander from host to host. I was inside the cat that you adopted, and then I moved into your sister's body. I consume and thrive on the souls from the bodies that I occupy. I wanted to show you my affection. You were very kind to me when I was inside the cat's body. You're a good boy, Julius. Unfortunately, your sister is no more. I'm sorry, but that's how I survive. I'm sleeping now. Sleep,
she said, making another movement, and I fainted. The next morning, I woke up in my bed. Bree was gone. I reported her as a missing person and even hired a private investigator. But so far, my sister, or whoever she is now, is yet to be found, dead or alive. To be honest, my heart doesn't believe the words I heard that night. I still believe my sister is there somewhere, and one day she would come back. I don't want to be all alone in this world.
In the last few months, I'd gotten tired of TikTok and Instagram. Everything felt either really fake or really stupid. It all seemed like a huge waste of time. Even worse, I had to delete my Twitter after posting some dumb joke about BTS that had instantly turned viral in all the wrong ways. I got thousands of angry messages, and I couldn't handle that kind of vitriol. I figured I'd try out Omegle. The idea of anonymously chatting with strangers seemed like a nice change of pace. Even if I accidentally said something offensive, I'd just get skipped. Nothing would happen to me. At least, that's what I thought. The first night, I spent a couple of hours in random conversation with people from my age from all over the world. One guy even serenaded me with his guitar. He wasn't very good, but it was still pretty cute. I met a couple creepers, but I skipped them quickly. All in all, it was a nice, low-pressure experience. The next night was a bit different. I talked with this guy from Atlanta for a bit, but when I said something slightly political, he skipped me. Whatever, that was fine. But then the next person popped up on my screen. It was an Asian girl about my age. She had a teddy bear in her lap, and her whole room was decorated pink. We spoke for a bit, and everything seemed to be going well, but after a while, her expression changed, as if she recognized me from somewhere. I don't remember what I was talking about, but she cut me off and asked, "Are you 5*47?" I gulped. That was my old Twitter handle before I deleted the account. At that exact moment, I noticed the posters behind her. They were all BTS. No, I lied. I don't know what you mean. She did not buy it. She stared at me for a long time, and I could see the raw hatred in her eyes. She knew exactly who I was. She started to say something, but I very quickly skipped her and started the next conversation. That night, I could not sleep. I kept thinking about that girl's expression. It was so dark, so angry. She looked like she really wanted to hurt me. I played back our conversation in my head. Had I said anything that gave away where I lived? Had I told her anything that could help her track me down? I didn't think so. I didn't mention my real name, or my city, or any other personal information besides what kind of movies I liked. The thought was comforting. There was no way that BTS fan would be able to track me down. I was calm enough to start drifting to sleep. But before I did, I realized that the wall in my dorm room had a banner of my college. It would have been visible when my laptop was on. Would that be enough information for her to track me down? It didn't seem likely. Still, I could barely sleep that night. After a few days, I'd forgotten about the interaction. I continued to go on Omegle and meet new people, and everything seemed to be normal. Then, one night, I woke up to a loud, shattering noise. My dorm window had burst open. I pushed myself out of bed and saw that someone had thrown a brick into my room. I looked through the broken window and no one was outside. The grassy area next to the building was dark and empty. Then I checked out the brick. It was large and gray, and on one side there was a message written in Sharpie. BTS forever. Crap, I whispered to myself. That girl had found me. I reported the incident with the campus police, and they assured me that they'd look into the security camera footage to see if they could identify the brick thrower. They never got back to me. The next day, I was walking to one of my classes when I saw a flash mob outside the student union. I realized with horror that they were dancing to a BTS song. The science wing only had one door, so I had to walk past them if I wanted to get to class. With my heart beating fast, I walked around the dancers, my head hung low. I thought that I'd made it into the building, but when I looked over my shoulder, I saw that the flash mob had shifted direction. They were dancing right towards me. Their moves were still perfect and synchronized, but they were all staring at me. The girl from Omegle was right in the center. All at once, they did a dance move where they crossed their fingers over their throats threateningly. I raced inside. All throughout chemistry, I was worried about what was waiting for me outside. I made sure to leave with the rush of students, trying to stay as inconspicuous as possible. But when I got back into the courtyard, I didn't see any dancers. Instead, I saw the entire student body staring at me. That's when I realized that there were posters all over the brick walls. Someone had plastered a blown-up screenshot of my BTS tweet everywhere, right next to a photo of my face with black X's over the eyes. I raced to campus security and explained what happened. I told them everything, and the old security guard stared at me with a confused expression. "You're saying," he said, "that people are terrorizing you because you posted something about some boy band?" "Yes," I told him. He just laughed and told me to calm down. If all this was over some stupid band, things would blow over soon enough. I wasn't so sure. The next night, I tried to sleep. I even took some NyQuil to help. As I was dozing off, I heard a soft scratching noise. Someone was at my door trying to pick the lock. "Go away!" I shouted. I heard laughter through the door. There were at least 3 people on the other side, maybe more. I jumped out of bed, woozy from the NyQuil, and pushed my dresser against the door. The scratching stopped. The board that covered my broken window popped open. People started to climb inside. It was dark, so I couldn't see them at first, but I knew that the first one to climb in was that girl. She landed with a thump on my carpet and started walking toward me. 3 others were behind her. Even in the dark, I could see they were all wearing BTS shirts. "I'm sorry," I said. "Please stop." The girl didn't stop. Giggling, she pulled something out of her pocket. It was a lighter. She stood inches away from me and started clicking the lighter on and off, on and off. "What do you want?" I screamed. She didn't say anything. "Please," I told her. I was wrong. I love BTS. Their music's incredible. And I love their dance." That seemed to be all she needed to hear. She shoved the lighter back in her pocket and left. They all climbed out the window. I sat there alone in my dorm for the longest time, barely able to breathe. Since then, the attacks have stopped. I haven't been on Omegle since, and just in case, I wear a BTS pin on my shirt every day, for protection.